Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I'm your host, Ty Spiker Christensen. I could sell your daughter into slavery. I could give her to a freaking and you'd still be in debt. Or something like that. I don't remember what the line was. And we've got Jordan Christensen on the podcast.
Hello.
I don't
I,
remember that being in there.
I don't have a quote.
What you meant to say was, we all live in the yellow sea. Yellow sea. Guys, today we're talking about the Yellow Sea. This movie came out in 2010. Directed by Hong-jin, and its writers were Wang Chang-hong and Na Hong-jin. So you got the director, writer, and it stars Lee Yu-mi, Ha Jung-woo, and Lee Hee-jun.
I always love
So
when you try to pronounce
not the
those.
same. Why not? We got to give some recognition to our boys.
No, I know. It's just funny hearing you pronounce them.
Okay, so this movie is when the attempt to kill a professor goes wrong, a series of violent events are triggered which force a taxi driver to run for his life. The
It just
driver, the murderer, and the taxi driver.
there's a lot in this film. I was hoping you could explain. I just missed some of the details because there was a lot of talking. I feel like I might have missed a moment where they
You,
were
you turned on
explain.
subtitles, right?
Yeah, I guess there's just
You're
some
like all
moment.
these scenes where these
Well,
characters are speaking a language I
no,
don't
I just
speak.
I was a little confused as to like why so many people wanted to kill him. Like I understood why the mob boss wanted to. He was basically framing this, what was he, a lawyer or something killed? But
Professor.
oh, was he professor? See, like I just one more detail I'm out of the loop of. Anyways, I just was confused. It was like, were they both head mob boss, right? And they were like trying to kill each other and him at the same time, and the police were after him. I just love that it felt kind of like The Fugitive and
Yeah,
the
Fugitive is apt.
killer,
Yeah, and the killer from
David Fincher.
David Fincher is the killer. Yeah, that's funny that you drew those
And
two.
a bittersweet life also kind of reminds me of that.
Bittersweet Life. Yeah, yeah, a little bit of that as well. So you're asking like why everyone wanted him dead.
Well, I knew why the one guy wanted him dead because he basically set him up to. Well, okay, let's get into. Yeah, I'm sorry, I could keep
Don't ask me
rambling.
to tell you what happens in this movie. So let's get into this movie. What was like watching it for the first time, rewatching it for the podcast, Jordan?
I absolutely loved it. I just came across it because I love the whaling, love the chaser, and I'm like, well, I got to check this one out. The trailer doesn't do it justice because I was like, I not sure I'm really interested in it. But then I'm like, well, he made two other amazing films. I want to check this one out, and I'm really glad I did because I had a blast. I thought it was like, nonstop, some of the craziest action thrill ride throughout the entire film. I thought like I mentioned, a bittersweet life where it starts out kind of building the character and the story, and then the last half is just like the cops are like right on his tail, like literally.
I don't know. I'm always like, how are they going to escape from this one? I'm like, oh my
Yes,
gosh, the police force is so inept and so unable to
there
just
was a few
put down
times
their
I
guy.
like had to check the time because I'm like, they're gonna catch him. He's like right there in their hands.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I watched this movie, yeah, last night, and I remember thinking, okay, let's watch it. And then I remember thinking, oh, this is like more of a slow burn, tough immigration, dude. Gosh, I never want to be an illegal immigrant anywhere. Traveling by boat, people just barfing all over you, dying next to you because
Yeah.
they die on the journey. Like they spent everything to get there, and they literally, with an inch of their life, just for an opportunity to get like across a border illegally. It's so sad, dude. So,
Well, I mean,
heart
yeah,
goes out to
and then to
both sides
add,
of it.
injury to insult or whatever the expression is, him buying and basically having loan sharks give him money so he could send his wife somewhere better and then she
I
leaves
know, and then just to have her, yeah, shack up with somebody else, and anyway, it's
And
tough, tough break, you know.
yeah, and the only way to pay off his debt is either sell his body for parts or
Yeah,
or
go murder
go
somebody.
murder somebody for
I
them.
know, right? Which I do like this plot line where people are so desperate, like Squid Games did it, where he's just like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
so in
thought of
debt,
that.
I have to do this thing. I don't know what, there's something really interesting about like a rat that's like trapped and it just won't
Yeah.
off its own leg. What will you do,
Well,
right? I know
that's
I'm
literally
quoting
what the guy
Dune, but
said too when they cornered him. Can't even
yeah,
corner a rat.
yeah, yeah. Well, and then the whole thing about rabies too, which I thought was interesting. There was like a whole discussion of rabies sweeping the nation, and they had to kill
Mhm.
their dog. And I was trying to like find the deeper meaning of it. The only thing I could figure is like a wild dog, right? He would bite anything. Because even the dog returned back to the house and I can't remember it keeled over and died, or they had to kill it. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember the story now, but I was just trying to think about that, like how a rabid animal, it's a tragic disease because even a loving creature can like eventually turn into a ravenous animal that will bite even the hand that it feeds him. So anyway, just interesting. There's some interesting themes there. A lot to do with animals. So yeah, but watching, I love a good thriller. I love a good we've talked about this before, but like any heist or illegal activity that goes wrong, we talked about in the
Yes.
Coen brother films that like he's like, okay, I'm gonna kill the professor, and then like the taxi driver has a mind of his own where he's waiting outside and you find out he's in on it, and you've got two guys running up to the stairs. You're like, oh my gosh, and then he gets up there and the guy's like, what are you doing? He's like a witness, and he's standing there with a knife too, and then he tries to attack him, and he's like, whoa, I just want that guy's finger. And you're just like, thanks for killing him for me. I just need his finger so I can, buy my freedom, get out of debt. So it's yeah, there's a lot to do with like wrong place at the wrong time, even though I guess he was psyching himself up ready to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
right? He was gonna do it. Timing the lights and when they come on and everything. Crazy. Oh, that
I'm
gives me
kind
the
of glad
jitters.
he didn't though, because it kind of makes him more of a redeemable character.
Sure, but then again, you're like, it's so sad that yeah, he's in this predicament where, like you said, he's willing to kill and illegally travel and all this stuff, right? It reminds me a little bit of Good Time as well. I mean, just always on the run from the
Oh,
police, having to do an illegal
constantly.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, how what depths will you sink to? But that one focused more on that. Yeah, you're right. This one felt more like Fugitive, where you're like,
Well, it was a
you,
constant run
you
from the police and two mob gangs.
and to yeah. So. I guess the are you referring to the mob gang that was it South Korea where they started and then North
Ye
Korea? I don't remember.
yeah, it's I don't know the
I,
exact
I don't know
locations.
geography, folks, so
Yeah.
don't bother me with that. But
But
anyway, so the gang that was there, they put the hit on the professor, right? And they can't have that coming back to them. So they're like, who's this other guy? And then they're like, well, this guy was sent over. I want to say it was from South Korea, but anyway, the dog trader, we'll call him the dog trader, right? Guy that has all the German shepherds and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
He sent him there to
Dude, he
kill, but
is
it
an
was basically a
insane
mission to fail.
fighter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was basically a mission to fail, in my opinion, right? Because he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna send someone over to your wife's house now, or was it not your wife, your daughter, or your mother's place? Because his daughter's there. His mom's caring for his daughter. He's like, I'm gonna send someone over there if you don't finish the job.
Hmm.
Because he's like, you got to make your time on your boat, otherwise, you're hosed. So yeah, you have so much tension building and writing on it. So it's good. Anyway, let's get into two of our favorite things, Jordan. What are your two favorite things from this movie?
Well, I've already mentioned it. Just like literally, they're so hot on his tail. They're literally like, jumping on top of him, grabbing him at knife and gunpoint constantly. Like guys are hacking away at him. He's hacking back at them with knives, hatchets, anything he can get his hands on. And there's so many moments you're like, how is he going to get out of this? I mean, I just haven't felt like this much, I don't know, anxiety, but just like feeling that rush of excitement, like nonstop sense, like A Bittersweet Life or all the movies we've already mentioned. I just love that constant thrill. There's something like so exciting about it. They kind of like sneak in a little bit of humor. I don't know. It's probably more on the dark side of humor. Like the one guy, he's like, he sends a bunch of people to kill the other mob boss, and then he gets out of it because he's an insane fighter. And then all of a sudden, he's like, he answers his right hand man's phone, but he's waiting to hear, like, oh, is the job done? But it's not. And he's trying to talk to him, and he's just silent on the other end. And he's like, is this guy like, I love that line because he like won't answer. And basically, this movie honestly just reminds me of like all my favorite action films, and I feel like it just has pieces from all of them.
Mm,
Like even the ending where it's just like two mob bosses killing each other. And I was thinking of both the Book of Mormon when Coriantumr and Shiz are just like hacking each other up, and there's like he cut off his head and
that's
he
a
gets up.
deep cut in the Book of Mormon, folks.
I know.
Okay.
He tries to get up, he's headless and he falls over and the other guy like leans on his sword and he dies. It just reminds me of that. And also a Michael Mann film actor that goes all method. Not
Method.
Jared, the other
Jared
super
Leto.
Last of Mohicans. Sorry, took me a second.
Oh, okay.
What's his
Daniel
name?
Day-Lewis.
Daniel
Yeah.
Day-Lewis. So
Yep.
in that movie at the very end, there's two Indian brothers. I believe they're Indian. I apologize if they're not, but they're like attacking each other until they kill each other. And it's so good. I just love this idea of like brother fighting brother because it's like what are you guys doing? You're crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and I just love how good of a fighter is. Like when I think I mentioned Old Boy, or maybe I haven't yet, but there's a scene where they're fighting in the hallway and in the elevator when he opens up the elevator and you don't actually see the fight, but you just see all the bodies fall out of the elevator when he gets in and there's just blood all over the walls. And there's a similar scene when he walks in the room and there's just a room full of guys and then it cuts away, cuts back to that scene and there's just like him killing the last guy and then he walks up to the mod boss. I just
Yeah.
love that. It's so great. It's just and you know and earlier you had seen him take care of so many other people and you've seen him fight, so you know he can handle himself. This is like an insane fighter where he's just like killing people. I keep using references to the, either the Book of Mormon or Bible, but I was thinking of the other guy that was killing people with a jawbone, from the Bible. Like that guy literally was smashing people's heads in with
That's
a bone.
Samson. Is that Samson?
Something like that, yeah.
The guy with long hair. The
Yeah.
longer his hair
Gets
grew,
his hair cut and his eyes
strangely.
gouged out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Samson.
Honestly, I was just reminded of a lot of like dynasties where basically it was coming to an end because this is kind of what it feels like. It's just like everybody killing each other off till there's like the last man standing and then he dies too.
Yeah, right.
Because that's
Yeah.
literally how it ends, which spoiler alert, he just like literally they all bleed out.
Yeah, it like a Tarantino shootout, right? I don't know if you mentioned True Romance, but that's what the movie I thought you were going to
Oh,
reference. But
interesting.
just
Yeah.
just the
I
end, everyone comes together with guns
like
blazing.
like I said,
It's a
it
good
just
standoff.
reminds me of all my favorite action movies. I
Yeah.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of parts from all of the ones I enjoy.
Why'd you have to be so stupid? Why did you said to shoot? Why did you have to get in the way of my bullet?
That was one of the like dark comedy moments I was mentioning. Like it's not supposed to be funny, but it kind of makes you laugh because of just like he's like shoot him, and then he just hits the other cop in the back.
Shoots the cop, yeah. Oh. Yeah, police brutality. Those cops at the beginning really could have stood to use a firearm. No one has a firearm, and then all of a sudden he's at the border wall. Those cops have friggin' firearms, dude. They're ready to shoot him. He's on the bus and he's like, "Oh, you've got a police uniform. Let me see some ID." And then he's like, he just starts pushing him, and he's like, "What the freak?" And then he kicks out the
Kicks the
window, jumps,
window.
yeah, he's jumping out, and then he like gets stopped immediately. And that's when I thought the movie was gonna end, or it was gonna turn into like a different kind of movie where he's like being interrogated and then
Mm,
he has to recap everything or whatever. Right? I just didn't know where it was going. But no, he just kept getting away with the skin of his
hmm
teeth. He's running away. He's been shot. Then he gets shot and he's still running and
Yeah. He gets
tourniquet and
stabbed
everything.
so many times and shot.
Yeah, well, there's only so much a human being can take. But then again, I just watched Roadhouse, the Jake Gyllenhaal one,
Oh,
and uh, this movie is definitely more believable, even though there's some incredible feats of strength and everything. But for some reason, I buy it. These people are all physically fit, and it doesn't seem like like it doesn't seem that stylized. It's very like when he's running in that field and gets shot, I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna die.
yeah.
And then it turns out it was his arm, but like, yeah, it hit him and he just like flew forward and like landed in the field. Then he like collects himself and gets back up and starts running. The adrenaline's pumping and
Yeah.
everything. It's just so crazy and manic. And then yeah, he probably gets up to the hill and he like has a moment to like oh, where is he shot? And he's like
Yeah.
assessing the damage. Like there's always those really sad, intimate moments in movies where the protagonist is like wounded and you get like to lick their wounds, but then like they check and they have like a bullet holes in their freaking arms. Oh, so anyway, um, yeah, I also like seeing the seedy underbelly. So like I'm kind of getting into my favorite things, but like
hmm
I like the seedy underbelly of trafficking people. I don't know why there's doesn't seem to be a big. Well, I'm trying to think of like another trafficking movie other than like of recent memory. I know that the Sound of Freedom one goes through my mind about the child trafficking, but like even just adult human trafficking, it's all bad, it's all sad, but like yeah, so so the little research I did with this, yeah, so it was Chinese and then South Korea. So
Ah,
Chinese mob boss sends off a Chinese man to South Korea to kill the professor, and then the South Korean mob boss is the guy that's like, do better, and he's throwing stuff. That guy was going for it. I thought that was really fun too. Like that, what a fun part that is that you get to be the angry yelling guy. Like he's like, we'll do better, and he goes, he's like, like he's that mob boss that's really going for it, and he's like really angry at his constituents. I really like that kind of actor. Like that would be such a fun role to play where you're
yeah.
powerful guy and everyone fears you and you get to throw stuff and shatter glass and yell at your subordinates. That just seems so fun. So that would be an awesome. because it's fun to see him like unhinged, but also like cool and collected. Because like it's so sad they bring in all. See, what is the term? They use a term. They round up all. I want to say it's illegal immigrants. Maybe it's like a derogatory term, but they have this term for all these people that were brought over. And he goes, no one knows this guy. So as far as you know, he had to have been brought illegally, and they think it's linked back to this guy, the dog trader. So I can't remember the term, like I said, and I wouldn't even know what it was in Korean or in Chinese. I don't know which language it was, but anyway, illegal immigrant, and they're trying to piece together where this guy's from. It's almost one of those things where you're like, "Oh, who is he? Is he a double agent?" It's like, no, it's actually more sad than that. This is like a desperate guy trying to get his wife back, trying to pay off his debts, and he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And then he gets involved with both cops and like a great scene was all the mob guys, like the right hand man. They're all standing. The cops are like, "Who are all these people?" And there's like 20 guys standing around, like they're all looking for our protagonist as well, and they're all like, "Look away," because they're like the cops are like noticing us. So, like you're all parked outside like a crime scene and like hoping to get your man. So I just thought that was really funny. But
Yeah.
anyway, so stuff like that, yeah, like you said, it reminds me of a lot of different things, but it reminds me of but it seemed to do it well, and it still felt fresh, even though there are things I've seen. It still managed to subvert my expectations, like how many slippery escapes he gets away from the cops and things like that. Like literally, like he was pinned down, and then what was it first? Was it the police car hit him? I can't even remember what it was, or he like got away and he's running in the middle of the street, and there's cops everywhere, and like all these cops get taken out, like mowed down with the police cars smashing into each other. It felt like Blues Brothers almost, all the cop
Mm,
cars just smashing
yeah.
into each other. Like it's almost sad because you're like, it's just one guy, but somehow he's like able to slip through the fingers, right? Like he's just getting away. But I also like how quickly the cops show up after the crime has been committed because the woman on the staircase, the cops are already downstairs, and that already started giving me anxiety because it's like, how is he going to escape? I'm sure he's going to go out the back way or something. And then he just like jumps. That reminded me, see, at World's End, where he's like, I know a shortcut. He jumps and just smashes on the hood of a car, like just jumps out
Yeah.
of a 2-story, 3-story window and just just like dents in the top of this cop car and then like rolls off and starts running. That was just so funny to me. Like, but again, not necessarily for comedy purposes, but it was just like so
Well,
manic
but
and
it,
so
like I said, that almost
desperate.
it
Yeah.
almost feels a bit comedic. Like especially
Yeah.
when he's like first waiting to see what's going on because a bunch of people go to kill him as well before he gets
Yeah.
there. And then when they're upstairs, one of the bodies falls out the window and lands on top of the
Yes.
car. I was totally thinking of Die
So good.
Hard. I was like, oh,
Collateral. Yeah. All these
yeah,
movies. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And see, again, it's like all these inspirations they could draw from, but I like the way they staged it. Even like where at first you hear the yelling going on, and then it like cuts to a scene where the professor's fighting with the two guys in the
Hmm.
hallway. You hear getting stabbed, and then all of a sudden you hear someone's head crack against the window, and you're like, what the? And then all of a sudden the body just smashes on the roof of the car. And then that's again the moment where you would assume this cab driver or the right hand man or whoever this professor, you think his first reaction would be like to go up and assist or something or call the police, but instead he like pulls the car, like hides the evidence, and then he like goes up himself to go finish the job. And you're like, oh my gosh, he's in on it. And like, I'll be honest, I called that, but not because I'm smart. It was just like a moment where I was like, I bet you like all these three guys, like he hired these two henchmen to, kill him. And he's in on it too because he brought him at this time. They only knew he would be there, so it was scouted out. It was too perfect, right? And he's like, I just need my thumb, right? Even if I don't, if I'm not the one that murdered him. And then, oh, like one last thing, it's not even a nitpick. It's like how accurate, like imagine cutting someone's finger off with a butcher knife. Like it's a smooth knife. And I know you like cut through the skin quick, but a bone, like, oh, it's
Bone.
so gross. Just
Yeah.
like hacking at it. It's terrifying. And it's so crazy and manic and got very grisly. So,
I'm
well
excited
done,
to see
movie.
what this director does next because he's done, serial killer, and then he's done so that's crime. Then he did this one, which is like action thriller, and he's
Hmm.
also done horror, The Wailing. So I'm like really excited to see if he touches a different genre because he's just like he's hitting all the different types. It's
It's
pretty fun.
good. Have you seen The Medium yet? It doesn't look like
Yeah, it's not
it's the
he didn't
highest
direct
rated.
it. He
Oh, he's a writer for it.
yeah,
Okay.
he was a writer. I started it. I fell asleep. It's basically I read it was somewhere like it's a mockumentary.
Oh, okay.
Not
It
like
was
a comedy mockumentary, but like you know, like
Like
in it.
it makes you think it's real, but it's not.
Yeah, yeah, for a horror
District
film.
9. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, for horror, dude, sign me up.
I
Yeah,
think
but
I don't know. I haven't finished it yet. I've just started, and it seems like it
okay.
is because she's a bruja or witch. Sorry, I said in Spanish.
Bruja.
Bruja.
Bruja. Everybody, there's been Futro Hidden Movie Gems. Leave us an email, futuremovies@gmail.com. We love you, listeners. We just want you to be good, be safe. If you're ever desperate, because you keep gambling too much with that weird dice game that they keep playing
Yeah.
at the beginning, stop. Don't get some help. There's a gambling addiction hotline or something. So give that a try. Don't agree to kill someone. Doesn't ever end well. This has been Future Hit Movie Gems signing out. Peace.
Bye.